last year I was invited to a design conference up in Breckenridge. It's only like 11,000 feet. Went up there, had a great time talking to people. I had to make it all the way from an airport to a bus to a hotel. Then I had to go to a bar, and I had to drink a lot late at night. And the next morning I got up, and my brain was trying to leave my freaking skull. I had huge altitude sickness. I was in so much pain. I just had a little tunnel of dark vision left there. I was crawling around. They sold oxygen at the little hotel stuff and the coffee shop. And that was awesome. I grabbed as much of that shit as I could, and I was just drinking down that oxygen. Drank as much coffee as I could. Demanded I got on the next shuttle to go back down to Denver. I hugged and I cried with that shuttle bus driver. I am not going above 8,000 feet ever again. So huge. Yeah. God, it's so humbling and awesome to be speaking here at a TED event. Huge honor. Thank you very much, John Lee. Thank you very much, Dr. Yu, and everybody putting on a show to bring me out here. Again, it's just a great honor. John Lee asked me to come out here and talk about the future of fun. And that made me really excited because I actually like to think about the future of fun in the game industry a lot. And I'm really good at it, actually. And I'm going to prove it to you. Here's my background and my experience. I've been the CEO of a few small game companies. I'm working on a new one now. I just left doing 3.5 years at Zynga. And again, I love thinking about the future of games. I am pretty good at it, but I'm going to walk you through some of my mistakes. I get the timing off quite a bit. I'm working on that. All right. This game I'm really proud of. This is Starfleet Command. It's a naval-style ship-to-ship combat simulator. We went through 3 major versions of it and a bunch of expansion packs. And it was around the year 2000. I loved Ultima Online. I loved EverQuest. I loved MMOs. And I thought, how cool would it be if people can go play starship battles with each other on persistent universes and galaxies and just have grand, epic battles that go for months and months and months. So I talked to Brian Fargo, the CEO of Interplay. He thought it was a wonderful idea, but no budget for an MMO. But I still wanted to do this thing. So I thought about it, and I realized what we could do is we could resolve all this combat in a peer-to-peer fashion, like any kind of LAN game, like an RTS. And when you get done doing your battle, you could upload the data from this game. Did you win? Did you lose? How much damage is on your ship? We can do all that. And that would be a nice little thin bit of data on a little client-server system. And then we can update a galactic map. We can give you prestige points so you can advance your career, and you can buy new ships. Now, this worked out just awesome. People loved it. Everything's doing great. I had one critical flaw, though, is I didn't have a business model around this whole thing. Because we had no budget for an MMO, and it was a packaged goods industry at the time, we just shipped a packaged good, bam, and there it is. The game deserved a whole bunch of ongoing support. We should have been doing maintenance. We should have been doing expansions. We should have monetized it by a subscription or even better, a virtual goods model. We should have done something like that, but we didn't. It was too early on. So the end result is now fans have kept this going. You can go look online. People still run these universes. And it's pretty awesome. Just off of a little home machine, people are running their own little pocket MMOs for their friends and family. A few hundred people log on to the little galaxy, and they run, and they mod their own universe, because we made it very moddable. I could predict the future. Last weekend, I set up a Minecraft server for my 2 boys, Kyle and Max. It was so easy. I just decided that, hey, you know what? These kids should have their own Minecraft server. So I went to Google, did a little Google search, popped open 3 tabs, picked the service that had the nicest looking website, because they must be doing really well. Give them my credit card information. $9 a month later, they're running their own server. So now my boys are inviting all their friends from school and friends from colleagues of mine, and they're all playing Minecraft together on their own private MMO. See? I can predict the future. It's just about 10 years too early. GoPets, I decided to solve that business problem that I had on Starfleet Command about a lack of a business model. I went out to World Cybers Games in 2002 and was stunned by the Korean game industry. All these people going direct to market. They're building online cake-making games. They had all kinds of games, and it was just online and direct virtual goods model. So I said, hey, that's where I should go. Talked to my 2 partners at the time. I said, hey, come with me. Let's go live in Korea and go make online games. They're like, no, you can go there. So I did. So we made GoPets. GoPets was a beautiful 3D virtual pets game. Had a whole crap load of features. The pets went around and visited your friends around the world. Very social, very cool, bringing people together. And we had the virtual goods model and a subscription model, because a little bit greedy. Why not sell virtual goods and a premium subscription? That worked out pretty good. And people love decorating their places, buying stuff, decorating. And in fact, farming was our #1 revenue generator, and people like cooking. So I got all that stuff right, but I blew it when it came to accessibility and web-based. I was stubborn, and I built this game the way I was used to building it, as a big, fat 3D client, nearly a gigabyte download, required a bunch of patches. So our conversion funnel on the front download gate was pretty tiny. So I learned from that, and I said, I should go to Zynga. I should go learn this direct from the source. So sold GoPets to Zynga, spent 3 years there. Was a GM on a couple of titles, worked on Farmville, worked on Mafia Wars. And so here what I want to say is, check it out. I could see casual was important. I could see that virtual goods was important. I could see that getting people into farming and all that was cool. So those are my bona fides, and I'm good at predicting the future of games. Again, just a little wrong on the timing and some details about 3D downloads versus Flash and web stuff. Now I'm going to start talking about some predictions. I think this one's going to be pretty easy. I think by 2015, there's just going to be no brain damage whatsoever on payment systems globally. We're getting close there now with Apple and their building it as a big, fat 3D client, nearly a gigabyte download, required a bunch of patches. So our conversion funnel on the front download gate was pretty tiny. So I learned from that, and I said, I should go to Zynga. I should go learn this direct from the source. So sold GoPets to Zynga, spent 3 years there. Was a GM on a couple of titles, worked on Farmville, worked on Mafia Wars. And so here what I want to say is, check it out. I could see casual was important. I could see that virtual goods was important. I could see that getting people into farming and all that was cool. So those are my bona fides, and I'm good at predicting the future of games. Again, just a little wrong on the timing and some details about 3D downloads versus Flash and web stuff. Now I'm going to start talking about some predictions. I think this one's going to be pretty easy. I think by 2015, there's just going to be no brain damage whatsoever on payment systems globally. We're getting close there now with Apple and their store, your 30% pretty wide global coverage. Facebook credits, pretty wide global coverage. But not only is it going to be global, it's going to be on every platform, and it's going to be brutally cheap, right? Because people are just going to get in there, and they're just going to keep on beating down the costs here. And so payments are just not going to be a problem to think about. It's already pretty good now, but it's going to be a lot better in the future. From the consumer point of view, they're just going to select an item and confirm. It's going to be smooth. Players are not even going to have to pull out their wallet to do their credit card. Someone will do a calculation and say, you're a real player, you're not a bot, we'll go ahead and extend you credit. People are going to come up with all kinds of clever solutions to make it transparent, quick, liquidy smooth, figure out the nasty bullshit later, we'll get your money now. And now, for a game developer, that's really, really important because it's going to free up another 20, 30% of bottom line revenue, and it's going to increase your global scope. So I'm really excited about that. The other thing that's going to happen is I believe that all the hardware is going to be free. I think players are going to get free laptops. I think they're going to get free living room consoles. They're going to get free tablets, free phones. All this is going to be free. And the reason why it's going to be free, it's going to be very similar to how high-end smartphones are given away under 2-year contracts when you sign up for services, right? All these guys are going to want you to get the latest, best hardware, or even last cycle's hardware, whatever. They'll give you whatever hardware you raise your hand for and just want. for, first of all, to get you under a subscription. But even that subscription piece, I think, is going to evolve. I think these market leader guys are going to give you loyalty programs. And if you buy enough content on their market, you'll get a rebate against this month's charge. And if you're a smart shopper and you buy enough stuff, you're not going to have to pay this month for your hardware. You might even get some money back if you buy enough stuff. So I think hardware is going to be free, and payments is going to be nearly free. So as a game developer, think about what would you do with these barriers blown away. One more prediction I want to make. This one I'm most passionate about. I believe that we're going to see a significant improvement of human rights in online games. This is my little Don Quixote thing. I really care about this. I wrote a book and edited a bunch of chapters on it. I'm really frustrated that the stuff that I have in my online games, the stuff in my backpack, the stuff in my house, this limited license to use. I don't like that. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel secure. I want to buy it, be able to buy it, sell it. I love the secondary markets. It's my stuff. If I'm out adventuring in a forest and I slaughter a rare troll and he drops a diamond sword of +5 killing, I want to be able to sell it within 5 seconds, get some cash, and go out to dinner, right? It's my stuff. I found it. It's my property. Mine. I want that. I think it's going to happen because in the Magna Carta, the first thing the nobles in England cared about was they didn't like it when the king started selling off their property without talking to them about it. So this is the first human right people care about. They get pissed when you take their stuff and you don't pay them for it. Over here, the CIA has a nice little graph that shows when you respect private property, the more protections you have for it, the greater the GDP. So I think there's also great market forces to cause this advancement in human rights. A little fun thing I like to think about is compare a rogue state like North Korea and the rights their citizens have, and compare it to the rights of players in an online game, right? So a typical rogue state can execute people at will. They can take their stuff at will. They have arbitrary secret judges, all kinds of nasty stuff that's familiar with dictatorships and bad places. You screw up, maybe your family dies too. They might let you buy and sell some crap, but if they don't feel like it, they just take your stuff. And if you're pissed about it, you get some sort of token redress if they're wrong somehow, if they would admit that. So my argument is, online games with their toss looks more like a rogue state than some cool place where I want to go play. Now, to be fair, what I really did is I took the TOS and EULA from Second Life and I reinterpreted that as a constitution. Technically, if you do look at the North Korean constitution, it's actually a pretty cool and progressive piece of paper. It says that they'll give out free health care, educate everybody, they're not going to kill people, protect foreign property, and things like that. So paper's really cool. I haven't been to North Korea. I'm sure they're probably pretty cool. They do execute people sometimes with mortar rounds and other crazy stuff, but I'm sure they had a good reason. So what is going to cause this advancement in private property rights? I think it's going to be gambling. I think gambling is going to be a force of good and make people free and enjoy human rights online. And the reason is governments are going to want that tax revenue. There's no government in the world that's really terribly really good at keeping a balanced budget. It's easier to spend money, not so easy to raise taxes, hard to cut programs. And they're going to look at gambling, and they're just going to make it more and more legalized around the world. It's rolling, it's happening, it's going on. The other interesting thing about gambling is, why do people not want to have private property in online games? Well, the arguments tend to be, well, we might need to change the balance of the game. If we change the balance of the game and diamond swords drop more often, then people are going to get pissed at us and complain. That's true, they will. When I was doing GoPets, one time I was doing a bunch of SQL queries, and I found out what we were making the most money off of was rocks. little virtual rocks that people were decorating their houses with. I didn't put a whole lot of science into pricing these virtual rocks at this time because I didn't know that much about A/B testing and metrics because I hadn't worked at Zynga yet. So I just had made up some price, and there were some rocks. When I found out how much money people were spending on these virtual vertical rocks, I actually felt bad and embarrassed, and I felt guilty. I was like, oh gosh, some people had $25 worth of little virtual rocks in their garden. And I didn't think that was a good value. You could go to a garden store and get a lot more better real rocks and stick them in there. Yeah. So I'm a good guy. I care about people. So I came to work the next day convinced I was doing the right thing, and I changed the price on these virtual vertical rocks. I made them 10 times cheaper. Oh, that was a huge mistake. I had so many owners of virtual vertical rocks mad at me the next day. They're on the forums, they're chatting at me, they're pissed because they loaded up, for the zombie apocalypse change happening. Their security was invested in virtual vertical rocks. And I totally screwed up the value of that. So it is a big problem. I fixed it, though. I changed the price back. I didn't want to admit that I was wrong. Virtual vertical rocks are still too expensive, so I introduced a new one, changed the color a little bit, and made those cheaper. That was fine. People were really happy with that. These rocks are expensive. These rocks are cheap. It worked out. So that's the kind of things that people with MMOs worry about. Like, do we have the flexibility to change these games? How can we fix things? How can we balance these things? Crap, what happens if our game sucks and we got to shut the servers down? People are going to come after us and sue us. Yes, there's a lot of edge cases. Yes, there's a lot of details. I believe I have ideas how to address a bunch of those, and I've talked about that in my book. Yes, it's true. However, when people have things like their backpack and their house and their sword and their character, we're already selling the stuff to them predicated on the personal pronouns of possession. These EULAs and these limited licenses have never, ever been tested in any major court, other than, interestingly enough, in Asia, where the courts do say to the operators, hey, yeah, if you screwed up this character, put the sword back. Or if somebody robs somebody and takes it out of the PC cafe, they'll say, hey, you owe this guy some money. So Asian courts are a little bit more progressive on it, but Western courts haven't even wanted to touch it yet. But I think it will progress because people are going to naturally demand it. I think the public just expects it's theirs, and they don't even understand this whole license thing anyway because they just click past it. But what's cool about gambling is you just can't screw that stuff up, right? You can't yourself. You can't blow up a player's account and lose track of how many tokens or chips you have. Your casino won't last a second. You'll have a crisis of confidence. Plus, the governments that licensed you would have a very dim view of you losing track of these chips. And even if nobody else outside knew, it's not good for you, right? You don't want gamblers to make off with millions of dollars that you don't have. So what do? You get that stuff absolutely deadly correct by using pretty known technologies that are familiar in the banking industry and transactions and auditing, and you can roll these things forward and backward. You can recover from any kind of crazy event. So we know how to do this. It's not crazy. Known technology. We'll do it. You're going to see more gambling happen. And when you see more and more gambling happen, people are going to begin to want to see that IRU in their RPGs. They're going to want to see it in their other online games. And then someone's going to come out ahead of it, ahead of market forces, and they're going to come up with a really robust, clean property rights for these items. And they'll figure out what to do with all the different edge cases, how to rebalance the game, how to do recovery from a server, a smaller and smaller population, they're shutting it down. It's going to be solved, I argue. I believe it. And I'm actually still kind of shocked that people haven't wanted it yet. So this is actually a prediction I made a while ago. I'm still waiting for it to happen. I'd love to hear more from the rest of the people here in the audience and other people. If it's not gambling, what do you think it is that's going to drive property rights on online games? Or do you think people are going to be pretty content just to be leaseholders of temporary licenses to their virtual stuff? All right. Thank you very much.